Hello everyone, this is Satan's Child here today to do another film review. The film I'm reviewing today is Satan's Baby Doll, also known as La Bimba di Satana, also known as Orgasmo di Satana. It's a really good Italian gothic sex horror by Mario Bianchi. Now this film starts, depending on which version you're watching, if you're watching the hardcore version, it starts off with a softcore sex scene between two women, and then it opens up to a funeral that's getting held within the house in this beautiful gothic mansion. If you're watching the softcore version, it starts off outside, and sort of the camera pans over to the castle, and then we see inside the castle, and the funeral scene starts. Now, this film has a softcore cut and a hardcore cut. The hardcore cut has hardcore pornography, sorry I couldn't get my words out there, hardcore sex. The softcore cut doesn't feature that, it still features some sex scenes or nudity, but there's no hardcore sex in the softcore cut. This film is directed by Mario Bianchi under the name Alan W. Pools. Basically, the film's about a family and people staying in this gothic castle. The father Antonio, the daughter Maria, the dead mother Maria, which makes it, I suppose, the names a little confusing, but they're similar names, but the daughter's Maria and the mother's Maria. The nun Saul, Isidro, the sort of occult, he has supernatural powers to call upon the dead and do possessions and maybe cure people, because later on he tries to actually exorcise the evil spirits out of the castle. But he basically kind of keeps to himself a lot. He's kind of the servant guy. And Antonio's paraplegic brother Ignacio. Basically, the plot is about. It starts off with the dead mother, and what we start off with is this really beautiful funeral scene that's getting held within the gothic castle. The music adds a lot to this film. The music's one of the major factors of this film. It's by Nico Catanese or Nico Catanese. I hope I'm pronouncing the name right. I think it's Nico Catanese or Catanese. I'm sorry if I pronounced it wrong. Yeah, the music's a very big factor in this. It's really atmospheric, really gothic. It has that sort of a rock vibe to it, but it's also operatic, and you hear a piano through the soundtrack, and it's just really, really beautiful. One of my favourite soundtracks ever. Right, it does give you a sort of Fabio Frizzi sort of vibe. You know, the Beyond, that City of Living Dead, that sort of really beautiful gothic vibe. Now, the funeral scene starts with the daughter, played by Jacqueline Dupree, who is really sexy in this film, I must say. Walking in, like the family are all sort of standing there, they're all sort of staring at each other, and this sort of causes tension because it's all just silent with this really beautiful music playing, and they're all sort of like staring at each other, and then she walks into the room with a flower, and all the subtle music's just really beautiful. It's just really adds to the scene a lot. She puts a flower on her dead mother. Her mother sort of has like a reaction, you know, like when dead bodies like spontaneously move, and it sort of shocks her, and up comes the beginning credits with like this red background, because everything turns to red, and up comes the beginning credits with the really amazing stylish music that starts playing, which is absolutely fantastic. If you watch the hardcore beginning, then that music isn't there. The credits happened during the hardcore beginning in a softcore sex scene. Basically, I actually prefer the softcore beginning, but I actually prefer watching the hardcore version. So, you know what I mean? But I prefer the softcore beginning with like the red background, and up comes the writing with all the music and everything. It really sets a mood for the film. The hardcore beginning with the softcore sex scene is good as well, and that music is really beautiful. That plays throughout the film when it can later on. as well, that music, but you know, I prefer the softcore beginning, but overall I prefer the hardcore version more. So I generally go back to the hardcore version more often, but I do occasionally watch the softcore version from time to time too. Basically, the plot continues on that all these people in this castle all have their problems, especially the father. He's completely nuts. He starts using Ignacio. His brother was paralyzed. He had some sort of accident. We're not sure which accident, but basically it caused his whole body to be paralyzed. Now he's on a wheelchair for the rest of his life. So basically he's given medication from a doctor. His brother basically takes it, the medication, uses it to basically fuel his own drug addiction. So, I mean, he's actually pretty much a slimy guy, slimy to the nun Saul, played by Mariangela Giordano. I hope I pronounced that right. She's very infamous actress. She's in The Zombie Dead, also known as Burial Ground. Malabimba, The Malicious Whore, which is Satan's Baby Doll's actually a remake of, but I'll get more into that soon. Patrick Still Lives, Giallo a Venezia. So she's quite a known actress. She's the mother who gets her breast bitten off in The Zombie Dead, but by Peter Bark. So that kind of makes you infamous. Then he just bullies everyone around, but the plot's always developing in some sort of way. You're learning more about the characters. Maria and the daughter becomes possessed by the spirit of her dead mother, while Isidoro's in the crypts deep beneath the castle. It's like this catacombs, crypts, sort of cave sort of area, which is very atmospheric and beautiful. And that's where Maria's body's kept. And then her daughter becomes possessed because the dead spirit of her dead mother possesses the daughter, and she basically starts going around the castle seducing and murdering people within the house. Isidoro tries to actually exorcise the spirit later on, but ends up getting killed in the process by a really cool looking zombie mummy thing. It kind of reminds you of the zombies a little from The Zombie Dead, also known as Burial Ground. Those actually look really stylish. I actually love the zombie mummy. Now, we find out later on the plot, and this review's got to contain spoilers, so I'm sorry about that. So, we find out later on that Antonio, the father, actually killed the mother because I think she was sleeping with other people. He actually wheels his brother through the castle later on in the wheelchair and leaves him in the crypt and basically tells him he's going to starve to death. And it's not going to be too nice sitting in his own urine and excrement, so because he can't look after himself, obviously. So he's basically abusing everyone in the house. I mean, I sort of understand him being a bit upset because his wife cheated on him, but at the end of the day, he's quite an aggressive bully, basically, to a lot of people. But to be honest, his wife did cheat on him with a lot of people, including the nun Saul. We find that out later. The paraplegic guy in the wheelchair, Ignacio, even the doctor who comes to the house. It's hinted at that she slept with him and did things. So, you know what I mean? It's just all this perversion, corruption that's going around. But really, what the film, and it's got a really good story, but it's the strongest part of the story, and it's got some good sex scenes, especially the sexual stuff with Jacqueline du Pré, who plays the teenage daughter. She's really sexy in this film. She's not in any hardcore scenes or anything, but when you see her naked or doing sexual things, it's memorable. The hardcore version does include 2 sex scenes that were cut out, the softcore version, including the scene where the paraplegic gets his penis sucked, and a hardcore sex scene between Antonio and Maria, who came back from the dead in spirit form, because she possessed her daughter's body, but then when her daughter starts doing stuff, she turns into the mother. And so we basically find out all this stuff to do with the plot as the plot moves forward. But what really sets this film up is the atmosphere, the Gothic castle, the music soundtrack. This is amazing music. You know, when the Italians or just anyone, when they do really beautiful music, I'm thinking movies of a certain beautiful atmosphere and musical score, like Nude for Satan, Black Magic Rites, The Beyond, City of the Living Dead, that sort of stuff. Even some other stuff, when you think about it, like Lorelei's Grasp, when it has some really perfect music and atmosphere. I just love that. I just love Gothic cinema and the music that goes with it. You know, I like Gothic sex horrors as well. I love all this sort of stuff. Gothic satanic movies, all this stuff's really beautiful and amazing, definitely right up my street. Now, I really wish you could get a soundtrack CD of this, because the music's just phenomenal, but I haven't really heard the musician's name, Nico Catanese, getting brought about very much. I don't know if the person did the music under a pseudonym or what, but I'd really think their music deserves to be discovered more, especially this deserves a soundtrack CD release at the very least. Now, this is definitely one of my favourite films in my top 50, which I also said in my previous review about Slaughtered Vomit Dolls, which is true. Basically, I just think it's very underrated. Now to the version that I own. This is a hardbox edition. This has a small hardbox edition. This has both the softcore cut and hardcore cut. The softcore cut comes with subtitles, but the hardcore cut doesn't, unfortunately, which is a shame. Now this is the Shameless edition. This is the reversible cover. Really beautiful artwork. I've always loved that artwork. The normal artwork is very similar. Before I reversed it as well. This version contains a sort of mix between the softcore version and the hardcore version. I guess it's Shameless's own unique cut of the film, but it's neither a softcore or a hardcore. It's got some softcore scenes extended, so it just depends on what you like. I suppose it's got really good picture quality. It's a good release that came with this really awesome poster that I proudly have up on my wall. I really love the film very much, which is why I have a poster of it. Now, anyway. Yes, so the Shameless version does have good picture quality and everything. I'm not sure if they took the print from Severin or not. I haven't actually seen the Severin edition, so I can't say. This is a bootleg edition that I have that comes with the hardcore cut with subtitles, which is pretty cool. That's the version I watch the most, the hardcore version. I do sometimes go back and watch the other versions from time to time too. Now, this film is actually a remake of another Gothic Italian sex horror called Malabimba, The Malicious Whore. It has a lot in common with that film, actually. Here, with Malabimba, it's put out by Severin, so is Satan's Baby Doll in America. That's the softcore cut, and this is the hardcore cut. I go back and watch the hardcore cut version more often than the softcore version, but I occasionally do watch the softcore version from time to time, but usually I just stick with the hardcore. Now, what's interesting about this film is that there's a lot in common here. The producer, Gabriele Crescenti, who's quite infamous. You know, he produced Burial Ground, also known as Zombie Dead. He's produced Malabimba, Satan's Baby Doll. I'm presuming I think Satan's Baby Doll's from 1982, Malabimba's 1979, and he must have thought, okay, we'll remake it, but I happen to think both films are amazing. Out of the two, I probably slightly prefer Satan's Baby Doll, but I love both very much, and I think in the future I'll probably do some sort of review on Malabimba too, since I love that film very much also. Now, here's a bit of trivia for y'all. The actress in Malabimba who played Bimba Caroli, the teenage possessed daughter, actually only had one starring role in Malabimba. The actress Jacqueline Dupree in Satan's Baby Doll, who played the the teenage possessed daughter in that also only ever had one role. That at least as far as my knowledge goes. So that's actually pretty fascinating stuff. As far as the movies go, they actually do have several connections. I believe the Doctor in Satan's Baby Doll also plays a part in Malabimba. Also, Mariangela Giordano, I hope I'm pronouncing her name right, played the nun Sister Sophia in Malabimba, as well as the nun Sister Saul in Satan's Baby Doll. And so she reprised her role. She did her role again in both films. She did a brilliant job. Now, like I said before, I highly recommend Satan's Baby Doll. It's a beautiful masterpiece. The music's absolutely outstanding, beautiful, amazing. I definitely recommend everyone check it out. I hope you've enjoyed my review. I'll see you later.